He shot me. He left me in my own car, on a dark Lagos road, 6 months pregnant. And he stood there, watching me bleed. The same man who promised to stand by me. But I'm here, talking to you, because I didn't die. And that was his biggest mistake.
If you are just joining my story, let me give you 30 seconds. My name is Dr. Ada, 32 years old, university lecturer in Lagos. I spent most of my adult life keeping men at a distance because I had been hurt before, badly. Then one night, I made a mistake. A young man named Mike, my own student, 25 years old, helped me when my car broke down. I brought him inside my home. We had too much wine. And I woke up the next morning knowing I had done something I could never take back. Months later, I found out I was pregnant. I told Mike. He said he loved me. He said he wanted to marry me. I should have listened to the part of me that already knew something was wrong. This is episode 2. The finale. This is the part where everything collapsed, and the part where I found out exactly who I am. Let me take you back to the day it all started to unravel. It was my last therapy session with Dr. Ngozi. I had been seeing her for almost a year. And that day, she looked at me across her small wooden desk, folded her hands, and said those words that I had been working so hard to hear. Ada, you are mentally stable. You are healed. You are ready. I smiled. I thanked her. I picked up my bag and walked out of that therapy office into the bright Lagos afternoon feeling, for the first time in a long time, like myself. But on the drive home, I want to be honest with you, I was still thinking about Femi. Not the Femi who deceived me. Not the man who ran from our altar. I was thinking about the early days. The perfume aisle. The first date. The way he made me laugh at things I normally would not find funny. I was thinking about how real it all felt. And how something that feels so real can be so completely fake. I shook my head and told myself, stop. Dr. Ngozi said I was healed. And a healed woman does not keep reopening old wounds on the drive home. I turned up the music in my car. I drove home. And when I turned into my estate, I saw something at my front door that made me brake suddenly. 2 large traveling boxes. And beside them, my mother, Mrs. Bamba, sitting on a small stool in her everyday Ankara house dress, hands folded in her lap, waiting. I parked the car, stepped out, and looked at her. Mommy, where are you going with 2 boxes? She looked up at me with that face she makes when she has already decided something and does not need anyone's approval. I am not going anywhere, she said. I am staying here. With you. Because I know you. If I leave you alone in this house, you will sit and overthink until you drive yourself mad. So I brought enough clothes to stay as long as it takes. I stared at her for a full 3 seconds. And then I burst out laughing. Not a polite laugh. A real, from the stomach laugh. Because only my mother would show up uninvited with 2 boxes of clothes and present it like she was doing me a favor. She started laughing too. We stood there in front of my house laughing like 2 women who had survived something enormous, because we had. How long are you planning to stay, Mommy? She picked up one of her boxes. Until you overcome your predicaments, she said. I laughed again. And I took the other box inside. 6 weeks passed. 6 weeks of my mother in my house cooking every morning, insisting we watch Nigerian movies together at night, talking too loudly on the phone with her friends, and generally refusing to let me retreat into my own head. It was actually helping. I was sleeping better. I was eating better. Some mornings I would wake up and not think about Femi for the first hour. That was progress. But then, one morning, I woke up and I could not get out of bed. Not emotionally. Physically. My body felt like it had been filled with wet concrete. My head was spinning. I could not eat breakfast. My mother came into the room with a tray and I just shook my head and turned toward the wall. She set the tray down on the bedside table. She sat beside me. She laid the back of her hand on my neck, that classic African mother temperature check. Then she used her fingers to gently open one of my eyes wider and she looked into it, the way only a mother who has raised a child alone can look at you. Then she was quiet for a moment. "Ada," she said slowly. "I hope it is not what I am thinking." "It is just malaria, mommy," I said. "Let me take the medication and sleep." "We are going to the hospital," she said. Not a suggestion. A decision. I tried to argue. She was already at my wardrobe picking out my clothes. We went to the hospital. Our family doctor, Dr. Sam, 35 years old, calm, professional, someone who had known us for 5 years, welcomed us in the hallway the moment he saw us and took us straight to his office. They drew my blood. I sat in the waiting area for 1 hour thinking about malaria medication and how I would sleep all weekend. After 1 hour, Dr. Sam called us back into his office. He looked at the results. He turned to look at me. And he smiled. "Congratulations, Miss Ada." My mother leaned forward in her chair. "Congratulations for what, exactly?" she said, with the exact suspicious voice of a Nigerian mother who already suspects the answer. "Miss Ada is 6 weeks pregnant," Dr. Sam said. The word stopped. I said, "What?" Not quietly. Out loud. In a hospital office. In full professional mode with my blazer and my natural hair and my doctor title, I said it at full volume. My mother slowly picked up the test result from the desk. She looked at it. She read it carefully. Then she placed it back down. She said nothing. She stood up. I stood up. We walked out of the office, down the corridor, through the hospital lobby, and into my car. We drove home in complete silence. I kept both hands on the steering wheel and stared at the road. My mother looked out of her window. Neither of us spoke. In my head, there was only one thought, turning itself over and over like a coin that would not stop spinning. Mike. 6 weeks pregnant. One possible father. One impossible situation. And my mother was sitting right beside me in that car, waiting for answers I did not know how to give her. When we got home, I went straight to my room. I heard my mother in the kitchen, moving around, filling the kettle. The sounds of her doing what she always does when she does not know what to say, she cooks. I sat on the edge of my bed and I thought about the situation I was in. A 32-year-old woman, a PhD, a university lecturer, a professional who had spent years building a reputation. And I was 6 weeks pregnant for a 25-year-old final year student who sat in the third row of my own lecture hall. I felt shame. Real, burning shame. Not the shame that other people put on you, the kind that comes from inside when you know you have fallen short of your own standard. But underneath the shame, and I want to be honest, because this is my story and I will tell it completely, underneath the shame, there was something else. There was a child. Inside me. A life that had nothing to do with any mistake I made. A life that was innocent and new and entirely mine. I pressed my hand flat against my stomach. And I made a decision, sitting alone on that bed. I was keeping this baby. I had money. I had a house. I had a career and a name and everything a child needs to grow up well. What I did not have was a husband, but plenty of children had grown up with less than I could provide. This baby was not going to suffer because of the circumstances of how they came to be. I walked out of my room. My mother was at the dining table. 2 cups of tea. Waiting. I sat down across from her. I looked at her. And I told her everything. The car breakdown. Mike. The wine. The morning after. The office conversation where I told him to act like nothing happened. Everything. My mother listened without interrupting. Not once. When I finished, there was a long silence. Then she exhaled slowly and said, "Okay. Just okay." Not a shout. Not a rebuke. Not the lecture I was preparing myself for. Just, okay. She reached across the table and covered my hand with hers. "My daughter," she said. "What is your plan for telling the father of this child that he is expecting a baby?" I was silent for a minute. "I will have to think about it," I said. She nodded slowly. Then she looked at me with an expression I had never quite seen on her face before. Something between hesitation and absolute determination. "Ada," she said softly, "there is something I need to tell you. About your father." My head turned sharply. In 32 years, my mother had never said those words. Not once. My father was the locked room in our house, the door we never opened. The subject she always redirected with, "He is busy in America, he will come back soon." "What about my father?" I said. She took a breath. And then she told me everything. My mother's voice was low and careful, like a woman unwrapping something fragile that she has carried for 30 years. "Your father is not in America, Ada. Your father died. He died 1 year after you were born." The room was very still. She continued. "She told me that when I was born, she had to have a cesarean section. They did not have money for the operation. My father, a man named Isaac Bamba, whom she described as the gentlest and most determined man she had ever known, ran from person to person trying to borrow money. When no one could help, he went to the bank. He took a loan of 1 million naira. He signed the papers, agreed to pay back with 50% interest within 1 year. He saved her life. He saved mine. But I was not yet fully developed. The doctors kept me under medical supervision for weeks after the operation. The bills kept coming. My father sold everything he owned, his electronics, his furniture, his clothes, everything that had a value, to keep up with the hospital payments. After 1 year, the bank came for their money. My father worked every job that existed. He carried loads in the market. He started a small laundry business, collecting people's clothes, washing them by hand at home, ironing them himself, and delivering them back. No machine. Just his 2 hands and whatever soap he could afford. He was trying to pay back the bank and keep his wife and daughter alive at the same time. One evening, he was returning from a delivery. It was raining heavily. A trailer coming from the opposite direction had failed brakes. The accident took many lives that day. Isaac Bamba was one of them. My mother stopped speaking. I realized I was crying. Not making a sound, just tears running down my face the way they had done at the wedding, the quiet kind of crying that does not announce itself. My mother was crying too. She had not spoken about this in 32 years and the grief was still there, exactly where she had left it. "I protected you from this," she said, "because I did not want you to carry it." A child should not grow up feeling like their birth cost their father his life. It was not your fault. It was never your fault. I could not speak. She squeezed my hand. "Ada, not all men are like Femi. Your father was real. He was good. He gave everything he had for us and asked for nothing in return. There are still men like that in this world. Do not close the door forever because of one liar." She looked at me steadily. "And about this child you are carrying, tell the father. Whatever he is not, let your child have the chance to know where they come from. I did not give you that chance with your father and I have carried that guilt every single day. Do not make the same mistake I made." I sat with my mother in that dining room until the sun went down. By the time the room was dark around us, I had made 2 decisions. 1, I was going to tell Mike. 2, I called Precious. My mother's confession changed something in me. But what happened after I told Mike that changed everything else? I called Precious first. The scream that came through my phone when I told her I was pregnant nearly took off my ear. Then she went quiet. Then she went into full problem-solving mode, which is why Precious is the friend everyone needs in a crisis. She does not wallow. She strategizes. She helped me think through how to tell Mike. We talked for 2 hours. By the end of the call, I had a clear plan. I would be direct. I would be calm. I would tell him I was pregnant, that I did not expect marriage, that I only wanted him to be present in the child's life. I would make it clear that I could handle everything else on my own. I spent a whole week thinking it over, preparing myself. Then on Monday, after my lecture, I called Mike into my office. He came in wearing a clean button-up shirt. I noticed that. He usually wore his hoodie. He had made an effort, which either meant he had no idea what was coming or he had some sense that something important was about to happen. He sat down across from my desk. I folded my hands. I looked at him, and I said it. Mike, I am pregnant. You are the father. He sat very still. I continued quickly before he could react. I am not asking anything from you. I want to keep this child. I have everything I need to raise this baby. All I am asking is that you be present in your child's life. You do not have to marry me. You do not have to change your plans. I just do not want my child to grow up without knowing their father. There was silence. Then Mike looked at me, really looked at me, and said something I was not prepared for. I want to marry you, Miss Ada. I blinked. I want to be there. Not just for the child. For you. I know how this looks. I know what people will say. But I have never met anyone like you, and I am not going to walk away from this. His eyes were completely sincere. His voice was steady. And the part of me that had been through Femi, the part that had learned to read men carefully, looked at him and said, "This one seems real." But I told him no. Clearly. Kindly. But firmly. You will be the father of this child, I said. That is enough. That is everything. We do not need to complicate it further. He accepted it. He nodded slowly. He said he understood. He left my office that day looking like a young man who was genuinely trying to hold himself together. And I sat back in my chair and exhaled and thought, good. Clean. Respectful. This can work. I was wrong. The Mike who sat across from me that day and said, "I want to marry you," was real. But there was another Mike, one I had not yet met, waiting behind that face. In the weeks that followed, Mike was different. Not bad. Actually, too good. He started dropping by to check on me. He would bring food, small things, a bag of fruit, a flask of pepper soup from somewhere. He would ask about my health, ask about my mother, ask about how the pregnancy was progressing. He listened carefully whenever I spoke. He was attentive in a way that felt less like care and more like study. Looking back now, I can see it. He was learning me. He learned that I kept my property documents in a specific drawer in my home office. He learned which bank I used. He learned about my car, my savings, my investments. He learned the names of my closest contacts, the rhythm of my schedule, the roads I drove home on and at what time. I thought he was being attentive because he cared about the mother of his unborn child. He was building a map. But I did not know that then. I only knew that he was present and kind and that my child was growing inside me and I had things to be grateful for. At 6 months pregnant, I was glowing, that is the only word for it. My skin was luminous. My natural hair was thriving. I had adjusted my teaching schedule. I was eating well, sleeping better than I had in years. My mother had finally gone back to Sierra Leone. she was convinced I was stable. Precious visited every other weekend. Life had a rhythm again. On a Tuesday evening, I finished work at 7 o'clock and drove home on my usual route. 6 months pregnant. Alone on a quiet Lagos road at 7 in the evening. And ahead of me, a vehicle parked across the road, blocking my path. I slowed down when I saw the vehicle blocking the road. A lonely stretch of road. No other cars. No houses visible. Just trees on both sides and the headlights of the vehicle in front of me. Before I could reverse, doors opened on both sides of my car. 4 men. They were armed. My door was wrenched open. I was pulled out of my car. I tried to scream, but a hand covered my mouth. I tried to fight, but there were 4 of them, and I was 6 months pregnant, and I understood in that moment, with complete clarity, that fighting was not an option. They put something over my head. They put me in a vehicle. They drove. I do not know how long we drove. I could hear Lagos sounds, engines, distant generators, slowly fading as we moved further from populated areas. When they stopped and removed the covering from my head, I was inside an uncompleted building. Bare concrete walls. No windows. One small lantern on the floor throwing shadows in every direction. 3 of the men stood back. The 4th one stepped forward. And when the lantern light hit his face, I felt something cold move through my entire body. It was Mike. He was not wearing his hoodie. He was not carrying his backpack. He was standing in that room in dark clothes with an expression I had never seen on his face before, nothing like the warm, attentive young man who brought me pepper soup and asked about my health. This was someone else entirely. Someone emptied of everything I thought I knew about him. Mike, I said. He said nothing. He reached into a bag and pulled out a folder of documents. He placed it in front of me. In the dim light I could make out what they were: transfer documents, power of attorney papers, bank authorization forms. Everything carefully prepared to transfer ownership and access to everything I owned, my property, my accounts, my assets, to him. Sign them, he said. I looked at the papers. I looked at him. I looked at the armed men standing behind him. Then I looked down at my stomach. And I signed. Every page. Without a word. What Mike did not know, what he could not have known, because I had not told him and I had not shown him, was that those documents he had prepared were not the real documents. They were copies. Old drafts. Papers I had never updated with my current account numbers or the correct property registration details. They were worthless. Mike did not know that. He gathered them up with the satisfaction of a man who thought he had won. And then he nodded to one of the men. And there was a sharp pain. And then there was nothing. The first thing I became aware of was warmth. Not Lagos heat. The warmth of a clean bed. A ceiling fan turning slowly above me. The smell of something able being cooked. A woman was sitting beside the bed. She was a stranger. Middle-aged. Round face, kind eyes. She was looking at me the way people look at someone they have been tending to for days, with the exhausted relief of someone whose patient has finally opened their eyes. "You are awake," she said. "My baby," I said immediately. "Still there," she said. "Still safe. You are both okay." I lay back and closed my eyes. This woman, I later learned her name was Mrs. Comfort, had been driving home on that road when she noticed a car parked oddly on the roadside with the engine still running. She stopped. She looked inside. She saw me. She did not call the police first. She called her husband, loaded me into her car, and took me to her home in the next neighborhood. She had been a nurse earlier in her life. She knew what she was doing. She treated my wound. She cleaned it. She watched over me through the nights. Mrs. Comfort saved my life. Not a hospital. Not an institution. A stranger with a kind heart and a car and the instinct to stop. I stayed in her home for 1 week. By the end of that week I was sitting up, eating, strong enough to hold a phone. We called my mother. When my mother heard my voice, she made a sound I had never heard from her before, something between a sob and a prayer and my name. All three at once. I told her not to come yet. I told her we needed to be careful. I told her that Mike thought I was dead and for now, that was useful information. We made a plan. My mother was the only person in the world who knew I was alive. To everyone else, to Mike, to Precious, to my colleagues, to the university, to Lagos, Dr. Ada Bomba had been found dead in her car on the side of a road. I was alive. Mike thought he had won. And together, my mother and I were about to give him the performance of his life. For weeks after the attack, when I was strong enough to travel, my mother came for me quietly. No announcement. No news. Just my mother appearing at Mrs. Comfort's door one evening with a small bag and a ticket to Johannesburg. We left Lagos that night. In South Africa, I had access to a small amount of money I had kept in an account that Mike had never known about, an account I had opened years before he ever appeared in my life. It was not a lot, but it was enough. We stayed in a modest but clean apartment in Johannesburg. I rested. I ate. I walked in the mornings along quiet streets where nobody knew my name or my story. I grew bigger. My baby grew with me. I gave birth on a Tuesday. A boy. He came into the world fighting, loud and strong and absolutely furious about the whole process, which, honestly, felt exactly right. My mother was in the room. She held my hand. And when the nurse placed him in my arms for the first time, this small, perfect, furious person, I looked at my mother and she looked at me and neither of us could speak. He was named Isaac. After my father. After the man who ran in the rain to save the lives of the people he loved. After the man who deserved to be remembered in every generation. My son, Isaac Bomba. Healthy, whole, and entirely mine. We stayed in South Africa for 4 months. 4 months of learning this baby. Learning his sounds and his expressions and the specific way he grabbed my finger in his sleep. 4 months of rebuilding myself around the reality of being someone's mother. And while we were gone, while I healed and my son grew and my mother prayed every morning before the sun rose, back in Lagos, a burial was being planned. My mother had remained in contact with a few people she absolutely trusted, not many, just enough to make the burial credible. An empty coffin was prepared. A date was set. The announcement went out. Dr. Bomba Ada, 32, Leso lecturer, found in her car on a Lagos road. Funeral service this Saturday. My mother returned to Lagos for the service. She wore black. She cried, and I imagined those tears were real, not performance, because she was also grieving the version of my life that should have been different. The guests arrived. My colleagues from the university. Church people. Neighbors. Precious and her husband Emmanuel came, Precious holding Taif's hand, both of them dressed in mourning clothes. And Mike came. Mike came to my funeral. He stood at the graveside in dark clothes, head slightly bowed, the face of a bereaved man. And I wonder now, I will always wonder, whether any part of him felt something real in that moment, or whether it was all performance. The pastor prayed. The burial hymns were sung. The pallbearers lifted the coffin to carry it to the grave. And then I appeared. I walked through the cemetery gate carrying my son. I was in a white dress. My natural hair was full and loose. My son was dressed in white also, sleeping against my chest. I walked calmly toward the crowd. The first scream came from somewhere in the middle of the gathering. Then another. Then the sound of chairs scraping and feet stumbling and people backing away, and one woman fainted completely. Precious froze. Then she said my name, Ada, in the smallest voice I have ever heard from her. I walked to her first. I held out my son. His name is Isaac, I said. She burst into tears. My mother stood beside the coffin with her arms folded, watching everything with the calm expression of a woman who had planned this moment down to the second. Mike was the only one who had not moved. He stood exactly where he was, and his face was doing something I do not have a clean word for. It was the collapse of a man watching every calculation he made fall apart at once. The police were already there. My mother had made sure of that. They moved toward Mike quietly and efficiently. He did not run. Maybe because there was nowhere to go. Maybe because some part of him understood that this was how it ended. He was arrested at my funeral, with my son in my arms, in front of everyone. Mike faced the full consequences of what he did. Every charge, every count. My property stayed mine. The documents he had made me sign were as worthless as I had hoped. My accounts were intact. My house was intact. My name was intact. Everything he thought he had taken nothing. Isaac is growing. He is healthy and loud, and he looks at the world with complete confidence, the way babies do before anyone has told them yet that the world can be hard. I am going to do everything I can to give him as much time as possible in that confidence before reality arrives. I went back to work at the university. Different this time, softer in some ways, harder in others. I no longer perform strength. I just have it. Precious cried for about 3 days straight after I came back. Then she threw me the smallest, loudest welcome back party in her living room. Just the two of us and our children, and Emmanuel making terrible jollof rice and pretending it was not terrible. My mother, my fierce, impossible, loving, impossible mother, stayed for another month after we came back from South Africa. She reorganized my entire kitchen while she was there. I have not been able to find my wooden spoon since. I am still not married. I want to be honest with you about that. I have thought about it. I have wondered if my mother is right, if there are men like my father still out there, real and good and worth the risk. Maybe. Probably. I do not know. What I know is this: I am 32 years old. I have a son named after a man I never got to meet. I have a career and a house and a mother who will show up at my door with 2 boxes of clothes whenever she thinks I need company. I have Precious, who has never once judged me and never once left. And I have myself, which is more than I had when this story began. My name is Dr. Bamba Eda. I was left at an altar. I was lied to. I was shot and left for dead on the side of a road with my unborn child. And I came back. Not broken. Not bitter. Not finished. Just back. Thank you for watching my story.